Hi, Charlie. How you doing?
Hi, Joan. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
Wish it could be under more pleasant circumstances.
Well, that's what being a lawyer is all about, isn't it?
I guess so.
Well, I've read over your client's complaint in this case, and I don't know. I mean, I think that, I guess what I'd really like to know from you is what she's really looking for here. The complaint asks for $250,000 in damages, and my client is not a rich person, and if what she really wants is to have a full open trial and to seek a lot of damages from him, then that might be what we have to do. But if there's some other things that we can talk about, and maybe if you could itemize for me what some of her damages are, then I think there might be a possibility that we could resolve it. So I'd really be interested in hearing from you what your view of the case is from your client's viewpoint.
Okay, well, I'll do my best to do that. We have one point of agreement at least already. My client's not a rich person either. As a student at Yale Bridge Law School, she's piled up quite a bit of debt. So there's really a couple of principles that, from my client's perspective, that are important here. One is that she wants to be treated fairly herself for the work that she did in Professor Palsgraf's class. And the other principle that's at stake for her here is that, and it's really two parts, she wants to make sure that she doesn't suffer anymore at the hands of Professor Palsgraf, and that she does whatever she can to make sure that no other law student at the law school suffer at the hands of Professor Palsgraf. So that's what's at stake for her behind the figures that are indicated in her prayer for relief.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is that if there are some other things that we could come to an agreement on, that might be a way to resolve the case? Is that what I'm getting from you?
I'm suggesting that money is only part of the solution to the problem, and money is representative of other problems that she wants resolved as well.
Okay. Well, I think we can start addressing some of her concerns specifically and just see where some areas of agreement might lie. One thing I would like to say at the beginning, though, is I think this has been an embarrassing incident for my client, and assuming that we can meet some of her other concerns, I think it's important to him that if we can reach an agreement, that the terms of the agreement be confidential. And I think that might be an advantage for your client as well, given that she's just about to embark upon a legal career.
Well, all I can say is certainly she has no reason to want to make it public if a satisfactory agreement can otherwise be reached. I suppose that remains to be seen. Obviously, if we go to trial, a lot of things will be public. But
Right.
assuming that we could otherwise reach an agreement here today, then probably we could make that agreement confidential.
Okay. Well then, beginning with your client's interest in seeing that she is treated fairly, I think that your reference there is probably to the grade that she received in the course. Is that right? Or
Yes,
primarily?
yes.
Okay. That's something that I have talked about with my client, and he would be willing to give her the grade of A-, which is a grade that he feels that she squarely deserves based on her paper.
Okay, we'll accept that.
Okay. All right. The next thing that you discussed was whether, what could be done to make sure that this didn't happen again. Is that right? I'm trying to remember what
Make sure that it doesn't happen again to her or
her,
to anyone else.
To her or to anyone else. I think that there may be a couple of ways to look at doing that. One is my client would be agreeable to getting counseling. And I think that, you know, it's not something that he would view as something that he just has to do to comply with the settlement. I think he seriously is willing to recognize that he has a problem and he needs treatment for it. So he would definitely be willing to do that. And with regard to your client, making sure that it doesn't happen to her again, he is willing to have no contact with her. He is willing to agree that he will not seek her out in any way, that he will not contact her in writing, by telephone, or in person during her remaining 2 years at Yale Bridge.
Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that he's sensitive to her concerns. However, obviously, she's going to be a second-year law student.
Mm-hmm.
Takes 3 years to graduate
Mm-hmm.
from law school.
Mm-hmm.
And even with best efforts, if he's there, that's going to create a problem.
Why?
Well, because his presence will always be a reminder to her of the injury that she has suffered.
Well, even if she's not seeing him?
She'll see him there. How is she going to not see him? I mean, he's a part of the faculty.
Well, I mean, it's a big school. It's not like she's going to be taking a class from him. You know, I mean, there are lots of professors that other professors and other students don't see if they're not taking their courses. I mean, I just think if he makes a concerted effort not to contact her in any form, that it shouldn't be a problem.
Well, I think however we resolve it, I think it is going to be a problem because, again, there's just no way if he sees her, this is going to be a reminder. The other thing is, well, would he be willing to take a brief leave of absence from the school?
Well, I don't think he'd be willing to take a leave of absence. I mean, there's the possibility that he might be willing to take an early sabbatical, but it would only be for 1 year. You know, that's a possibility, but you know, depending upon how we can work out some other things. But
okay, is he willing to apologize to my client?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, let's assume for the moment, assuming we can reach agreement on what remains, that if he was willing to get counseling to apologize to my client and to take an early sabbatical for at least a year, that would satisfy her concerns, not only for herself, but as I say, for other students.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
For the time being.
Okay.
Let's keep that on the table.
Well, the final item is money.
Mm-hmm.
And she's asked for $250,000. And I guess my question to you is, how much does he think is fair? She's indicated that that's what she thinks would be a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say $250,000, we can settle this and go home now, but I assume you're not going to say that.
Well, I think from my client's point of view that by doing these other things, he is really remedying the harm that may have been caused her. I mean, I don't think there's really going to be any, you know, monetary effect on her career or, you know, any other really long-term aspects here. I think what he would be willing to pay is in the range, really more of nominal damages, in terms of a couple $1,000s.
Well, with all due respect, I mean, that wouldn't even be sufficient to pay her attorney's fees.
Well, we're at the beginning of the case. I mean, come on, Charlie. You filed the complaint. We haven't even done discovery yet.
Well, $2,000 isn't going to be enough. I mean, I think she'd be willing to come down from $250,000 because a part of at stake here is that again, we're not at trial, and obviously we were at trial, all this would come out, and so I understand that as a part of the agreement, your client is not admitting anything, but from my client's perspective, she's been injured. This happened. And so by getting a grade of A minus, and by your client getting counseling and taking a sabbatical, he's doing nothing more in her view than he should do.
Well, which makes her whole, though, essentially. I mean, if the point is to make her whole, then that's what he's trying to do here.
How about $10,000?
Well, I think that's still going to be hard for him. I mean, especially if he, you know, has to, if he agrees to take the sabbatical, and is going to have to walk away from some things that he had been planning to do here. I would say that maybe more like $7,500.
Done. Now, are we agreed on the counseling? No contact with her and a sabbatical. She gets an A minus and she gets $7,500.
Right. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.